Yeah.
I love my HBCU, and boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU, and man, I hope my team they won one.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won one.
Yeah, man.
I hope my team they won one.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won one.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Well, maybe not Charles Bishop. We will likely have Brandon King join us to do a segment or two, see what his schedule will allow him to do. We'll see if we can get him in here maybe in that second segment, if you would. With that being said, Mike, it's good to have you back, Mike.
Hey, what's going on, Doc? It's good to be back, man. On the cusp of fall 2025 and football season. It's a great time of the year. It's glad to get back in the saddle.
Good stuff. We might have a little delay there, but we'll make it work. With that being said, Mike, our good friend John Grant was saying that we should update the name of the show, change the name of the show. I think you heard a little bit about something. So I'm going to give you a chance to talk about it. But since you're here and Charles Bishop is back on assignment, maybe we should change the name again. Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and friends or co-host, sometimes Charles. Most of the time, Charles. With that being said, before I let you give me your thoughts on that, welcome to episode 694 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletics aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, with my co-host, Mike Washington for now, as well as Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Mike, how you doing? And you can give me your thoughts in terms of official name change of the show. What's your recommendation? How do we move forward?
Tell Mr. Grant, with all due respect, that I am still here. I had 7 people come up to me at the media day for SWAC and ask, "You actually still exist. Where is Mike?" Okay, enough with the comments. I'm right here. I'm here today. We'll try to be here most of the season, but enough with the comments. Big Mike is still here with the
Mike
crazy comments to go. So, Mr.
Season.
Grant, with all due respect, I'm still here, sir.
Good for you, right? Live in color, live and in living color for that matter. With that being said, with all seriousness, this time of year where folks are getting ready to, students themselves go back to school, parents are taking students back into school, whether it's undergrad or graduate. I heard that was part of your responsibilities. How did that go?
Yeah, man, it was crazy. So we dropped my youngest in for his final year in North Carolina, and dropped the middle one in Virginia Tech, and it was crowded, and it was getting more crowded. So I want to be a business that creates a company that makes it easier for students to move in. Man, they'd make a mint, they'd make a killing, because it is big business. They had businesses all kinds of businesses set up for students just to check in. Can we get you a free towel, free water during your check-in? Can we get you get you this? Can we help you escort? Because they had mamas and grandmamas trying to carry their kids' stuff to the dorm. Now they have alumni groups that help with this, but there's got to be a business out there or market for that kind of service, because I saw a lot of sweating daddies, granddaddies, grandmamas, aunties, all of that, and they were like, "Ooh, child."
Oh, that's for sure. I agree with you there. It's good to have you back in all seriousness, Mike. Appreciate your schedule working out. With that being said, I'm gonna shift back to you and let you get your news of the week. What's on your mind as we start to close up the week? We're heading into this first game, and Big Mike, big times. He comes to the big events, so he's there for SWAC Football Media Day. He's going to be there for the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff, and most likely the Celebration Bowl. Anything in between other than Prairie View Homecoming is iffy. Let's just say that. Go ahead, Mike. What's on your mind?
I will tell you one game that I am looking forward to trying to make.
What's that?
And that is Alabama A&M is hosting Prairie View for Alabama A&M's homecoming. I spent a long, and I mean long time since I've been to Huntsville. Back when I was in the Army, I want to go see that game. I want to see the Bulldogs, see if they can really tailgate for as much noise as they talk. I want to see if they really got the homecoming for as much noise as they talk. But I really want to see the game as well. So that's one of the games I'm looking for. I heard UNCB and AD talking about games you're looking forward to. I thought I'd get mine in here. That's one game I'm looking forward to. And we got a couple of Panthers that may or may not be listening that'll be looking forward to going up to northern Alabama.
Yeah, it's a crew. A couple of them happen to be alphas that are planning to take that trip. But I hate to break it to you, Mike. It's their homecoming is earlier. The homecoming is against Mississippi Valley State. This is not a homecoming game. I will say I've been there, and you used to come visit me when I was residing. When I first got out of school, took a job, and you were in that area, you'd come by, and we'd have a good time in Huntsville, and oftentimes get up there towards the hill, as they like to call it as well. But it's not their homecoming. It's a Prairie View game. They were smart enough not to put us on homecoming. They chose Prairie View, so it's early in the year. But it still should be big, and we'll see what they can do tailgating-wise. Yeah. Homecoming, they tailgate just a little bit
It'll
better.
Have a homecoming field.
Don't get too beside yourself. Even if it was homecoming, it's not quite Prairie View. It's big. It's nice. I go regularly. Take my wife and my son, Alabama homecoming. We'll be going this year as well. And they do it right. And you treat your boy right. That's even better. But it's not quite Prairie View. Not quite Prairie View. They got a lot of space like Prairie View, so they get out there with the RVs, and they doing a great job. Not Prairie View. Not Prairie View. With that being said, I'm going to get on. Go ahead. You say what?
I said they're not interesting. So somebody in the thing just asked, was I in Savannah, Georgia, Cooler area? I told them I did drive through there because I've been over all the east and southeast Georgia in the last 3 weeks. So yes.
Lennon got jokes. He said I sent the U.S. Marshals to go get Mike. We are in the state of Texas, and in all seriousness, it sounds like they trying to do those kind of things, which is a whole different story, not something that we get into regular. So we'll leave that right there. In a lot of ways, a lot more serious in all things for real. But I want to talk about this a little bit. HBCU announced a schedule, inaugural football season. Barbara Scotia College, an HBCU located in Concord, North Carolina, as you know, Mike, has officially announced its inaugural football schedule for 2025. They had never had a football program. Not many HBCUs can say that. They may have discontinued and bring it back, but they hadn't had one. So this is their first one. This marks the first time in the institution's storied history that it will field a football team, ushering what the school has proudly called the era of Sabre football. Sabres will play 8 games in their debut season as members of the new Southland Athletic Conference, NSAC. The schedule kicks off September 6th. With a home matchup against Central International College. Other highlights include Virginia University of Lynchburg that a lot of folks seen the schedule. Clayton State, Apprentice School, and Gordon State College. The season will conclude with the NSAC championship game on November 15th in Atlanta. Home games locations and ticket information will be announced soon. That being said, as I get you a chance to comment and give your thoughts on that, I think we do have a picture of the schedule. We'll see if we can bring it up to get folks to check that out. That are in there. Maybe they talk a little bit about that. But go ahead, Mike. What are your thoughts in terms of inaugural football season?
Yeah, I thought it was significant because I'm a little rusty coming back, but forgive me if I'm wrong, but Nova Scotia has a significant history. I think they were founded in what, the 1860s, 70s, give or take, as a kind of a seminary, and they helped train help with served a role in I guess a major role with educating African American or just really people of color after the Civil War. So I thought it's significant that here it is 140 some odd years later, they're finally getting this brush with football, and I think that's kind of a historic pin on it. But I hope my biggest hope is that it's sustainable as they start this program. And I think being in the North Carolina area where there definitely is a hunger and a drive for football, and that's my biggest hope, is that it's sustainable. And I'd like to see. I think you're pulling the schedule up as we speak, but I'd like, as you look at some of their teams and whether you want this program to grow. This is a school that you want to win in the end. So those are just my thoughts when I saw this announcement.
And I forgot the kickoff match of September 6th against Central International College. With that being said, you see the schedule there, getting a chance to pull it up. And so they're excited, I'm sure, in those parts. Interesting with the NASC, what that may look like moving forward. With that being said, I'm going to shift back to you, Mike, and let me tell you what other news you want to discuss in this first segment.
So not that we're talking about basketball, but we do have to get North Carolina Central men's basketball releases. They released their 2025-2026 non-conference slate from MEACsports.com. Of course, North Carolina Central basketball team is scheduled to play 15 non-conference games during the 2025-26 season, with 6 opportunities to catch the Eagles in McDonald McClendon Arena before MEAC action. That's big. So
bad.
head coach Lavelle Moten. Yeah, absolutely. And so head coach Lavelle Moten, he kind of brings the squad to the Lenovo Center, opening the season with facing North Carolina State on November 3rd. This will be the 6th meeting between the two programs and the first since North Carolina Central defeated the Wolfpack. I said the first since North Carolina Central defeated the Wolfpack. I said the first since North Carolina Central defeated the Wolfpack in 2013, 82-72. The Eagles will follow up at Virginia on November 7th before coming back to North Carolina after a trip to Appalachian State on November 9th. And then they kind of round out and they host its home opener on November 12th, welcoming none other than Bluefield State for the first time since 2019. So before playing the second home game against Toccoa Falls on November 18th, the Maroon and Gray will head to the Smith Center to take on the Tar Heels of North Carolina. That's a tough schedule if you look at it, non-conference wise. They're in the heart of basketball country, but 15 non-conference games. Yeah, so that's running the gauntlet. So I thought that was interesting news of the day.
Good stuff, good stuff. Shout out to Robert talking about Mary McClown Bethune talking about that she's a graduate of Seminar, Barbara Seminar, I guess, when the original name of the school before they shared the name and merged with Barbara Scotia. With that being said, let's take our first break. Come back on the other side. We'll get into a little bit of updates, some talks, one particular article I want to get into. We'll see what that looks like. Give shout out to Brandon King, as he did an article that kind of continues this discussion after last week that talked about Tennessee Tech leaving the OVC. He has a extensive article, and you can go check it out on Sneaker Shop Talk if you hadn't seen it already. And he asked questions. Should Tennessee State follow Tennessee Tech lead by leaving the OVC and seeking expansion membership in a different conference? As a member of the SWAC, what would a Texas State football schedule reveal in 2026? With that being said, let's take our first break and come back on the other side. Maybe we can get a little bit into that and talk about some other news before the last 30 minutes, last 2 segments. We'll get Mike's thoughts, potentially Brandon's thoughts in terms of what it looks like in terms of this opening football game, cricket's MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff. We'll be right back after this first break.
Get ready for the inaugural Unity Classic, Saturday, September 13th at Nathaniel Glover Community Field and Stadium. It's a clash of the Virginia Union Panthers of the CIAA and the Edward Waters.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people try to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Get ready for the inaugural Unity Classic, Saturday, September 13th at Nathaniel Glover Community Field and Stadium. It's a clash of the Virginia Union Panthers of the CIAA and the Edward Waters Tigers of the SIAC. Plus, an HBCU band battle between the Edward Waters Triple Threat Marching Band and the Virginia Union Ambassadors of Sound. The inaugural Unity Classic goes down in Duval.
History? Yeah, we built that. Pride? We fuel that. And on August 30th, we run that. 2 powerhouse HBCUs, Howard Bison, FAMU Rattlers, one legendary showdown under the Miami lights at Hard Rock Stadium. The energy unmatched. The culture undeniable. The vibes straight HBCU. 2025 Invesco QQQ Orange Blossom Classic. Get your tickets and book your hotel now at orangeblossomclassic.com. Saturday, August 30th at 4 p.m. in Miami Gardens.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern, Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
Compress the analytic data. Compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington. We have Brandon King joining us. He looks like he's still on little daddy duty as he has son there hidden in one of the twins, I should say, hidden in the picture there. But we certainly understand that and appreciate them finding out some time. Perfect timing as we just talked a little bit about the article that you put together, extensive article, but wanted to give you a chance to kind of dig into it and give your thoughts. What made you put this together? I think a lot of that obviously is the timing with Tennessee Tech, but beyond that, maybe you can give us some other clues. But let me start out this. You can go get this article on sneakershoptalk.com. That is Brandon King's website. You can follow him on that. He does a lot of HBCU articles. And for those that are sneaker fanatics, he sneaks in a time or two where he does some sneaker reviews and gives some updates for those, really those that are sneakerheads. But if you just enjoy good information about some good sneakers, I think he can have you that way as well. But with that being said, we're going to focus on the article. That is, should Tennessee State follow Tennessee Tech's lead by leaving the OVC and seek expansion membership in a different conference? Then he went on to ask the question, as a member of the SWAC, what would a Tennessee State football schedule reveal in 2026? So he put some added stuff out there. I thought the way that you opened this article was fascinating. You went back a little bit, as Eddie George says, recently left, but his time there ultimately led to him getting a regular season co-championship of the OVC. And a couple of years in, this is the same time you had Dion there over there at Jackson State, and they were talking and conversing, but you had some teams leaving the OVC back then. Since Eddie George, former NFL star, current head coach, at the time he was Tennessee State, made his comments about Ohio Valley OVC being a dying conference. In 2021, the OVC has indeed seen notable shifts in its membership. Just notable, as we said, in 2026, Tennessee Tech leaving. But before that, during the time that he was making that comment, you had in 2021, you had Eastern Kentucky. Right after that, Austin Peay in 2022, Murray State in 2022. So a lot of changes. And those are the football programs. You had basketball programs kind of shift and leave as well. So both looking at it there. So Belmont is one of those basketball programs. But you get in some different areas of this article, which is fascinating to me in a lot of ways when you talk about it. And I want to break some of those down just to give some of those that may have not got to it. You go into Tennessee Tech, announces departure from OVC. Then you break down Tennessee State's athletic challenges over a period of time. What has changed in the NCAA landscape? NCAA Division I FCS 12-game regular season conference. You talk about that update. What is happening in the SWAC? SWAC TV announced. SWAC expansion continues in the social media echo chambers. Why would it be beneficial for Tennessee State to seek admittance in the SWAC? And you have a highlight by 6 different areas that you look at, which is pretty wild. And then you get into Tennessee State. If it moved, what would the schedule look like? What brought this together? You're on mute if you're talking there.
There we go. Glad I was able to hop on. Hopefully the twins will let me cook for a little bit. But
he laughed too. Yeah, right.
GG, okay. But I mean, as we know, it's been a topic of discussion for many years. And I think when he made those comments, not only saying that the OVC was a dying conference, but even when he talked about the lackluster attendance and that, how people can attend more than the HBCU games and things of that nature, it really brought to the forefront. And you touched on it with some of the points that we talk about in the article. Not only that the OVC has seen an exodus of teams in recent years, both with football and with Belmont, non-football playing members. And we didn't even get into Jacksonville State leaving, who left prior to that. And they went on to Conference USA, and they advanced to the FCS championship game a couple years ago. So I think there's a lot of things that are going on, and the OVC landscape is moving underneath Tennessee State's feet. And I would have thought that when those teams made the move, that should have got some attention over there within the ivory towers over in the TSU athletic department.
He got the ivory.
But even with this, just a couple years ago, you had 4 schools from the state of Tennessee within the OVC, and now you're down. After Tech leaves, you're down to just 2. And so you look at it from a geographical standpoint. In terms of that was one of the points that was talked about us remaining in the Ohio Valley Conference was the teams that are in drivable distances. Well, now that is becoming less and less of a truism, particularly with you merging with the not merging but associating yourself with the Big South. That footprint is now expanded, and so some of those. I mean, you really gonna drive out to South Carolina from Nashville, Tennessee. So um, right now there's a lot going on, and as we know with conference realignment and things of that nature, it's like dominoes. When one falls, somebody else is gonna move. So I would say not only with the Ohio Valley Conference, but it's gonna leak out to others as well. With the nature of college athletics now, conferences where you are, it's more fluid than ever. And I think that we need to definitely be mindful of the landscape because you don't want to be the last one standing when the music cuts off, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Mike get in here and ask a follow-up question. But before I do that, that's a great point you make in terms of the changing landscape. Let me ask you this: as a Tennessee State alum, what are you kind of hearing just before this and after this article, just in general? I know you put it out there in a lot of spaces. What are you hearing in terms of in general talk, I guess, and specific from the Tennessee State alumni?
They want to move. I'm seeing more and more that want to move. They've been wanting to move. They would love to be members of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Not today, not yesterday, but years ago. And so, and as I look at some of the comments, and that seems to be one of the prevailing thought. That's I'm seeing a majority. I'm seeing some MEAC, seeing a lot of course SWAC, but even there's a few that say let's stay within the conference. But I think a lot of people, the majority, are wanting to make that move, and I think just because one, if your conference is constantly changing, like the OVC had, your fan base, you don't really have a chance, one, to develop any sort of rivalries, which we never had anyway, from a conference standpoint. The Sergeant York thing, notwithstanding, how many that nobody ever talks about that. Is not, ooh, we won the Sergeant York, which we haven't won since 2013. It's not a topic of discussion. So immediately if you make a move, whether it's the SWAC, the MEAC, or whatever, you immediately have that sort of immediate interest in opponents from the standpoint of something that your fans can get behind and kind of want to see you take down.
Good stuff. Mike, let me let you get in here and ask the follow-up question.
Yeah, I had a chance to read the article, man, and I also reiterate Dr. Cavil's words. It was a tremendous article. And I guess I wanted to, see, you make a very good case, almost as if an attorney, and you've heard all the comments from what do you envision would be the final straw to really push the horse over the hill, so to speak? I mean, it's a good thing to talk about it happening. We all make the case for it, but we've talked about it for several years. What do you think will be the final draw to make this happen, to bring this to fruition? Whether Tennessee State goes to the SWAC or the MEAC, what do you vision from your vantage point? Because as a Tennessee State, I think you have a very good vantage point.
Well, it would take something, I don't want to use the word cataclysmic, but something land altering in terms of more defections, because with this association, and shout out to my colleague David Rhodes for raising this on the Independence the other day, with the Big South in this association, you've got there's only two football playing members within the Big South in this alliance. So you've got six in the OVC. And if you continue to schools break away, now you're getting into the problem of potentially being non-playoff eligible and things of that nature. And so if that happens, then you've got to look around and see if this is worth it, or if there is either a changing of mindsets within the ivory towers of the TSU athletic administration or changing of personages. I say until one of those three things happen, I don't see it. I don't see a move being imminent, particularly because the agreement runs, I believe, through 2026, and they can extend it out to 2030. So, if something happens between now and then perhaps. But for me, it would have to be one of those three things that would be an impetus for Tennessee State to make that move.
Well, G Boom says he doesn't like your fixed opponents in the crossover, particularly for the teams furthest in the conference. He said they have to go. So you don't have to necessarily respond to that, but I'm gonna ask him how would he set it up in terms of that, and we can get anybody else out there in terms of the scheduling matrix, since you put that energy out there. But also, with that said, where are you in terms of, and we'll let you go on this, any final thoughts that you wanted to kind of share in terms of folks thinking about after they read this article, or have them go read the article? What are your thoughts? Final thoughts?
First, yeah, definitely go read it. And I hope that this is the sort of thing, that conversation can get started to maybe spark the mind who can move that needle, and necessitate and facilitate that change that the majority want to see. I can't say everybody, but I think that there's a majority, because and in closing, because the thing about it, if you're staying in this conference, and since '88, and there's been a lot more.
Well, while we got Brandon breaking up a little bit. Oh yeah. All right. With that being said, I want to say this. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Well, yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say, there's been a lot more bad years than good years, and so you can't even sell the fact that we're winning a majority of the time, or even marginally competitive, to use that as a selling point. So, I mean, and most people are like, well, shoot, if we're gonna get beat, we're gonna get our brains beat in the OVC. I'd rather get our brains beat in the SWAC or the MEAC, is what they're thinking.
Yeah, makes sense. I do like the fact that you teased out a schedule. That was unique in terms of what that had. You have something else, Mike? As I was saying,
just laughing at it. We'd rather get our brains beaten this way.
Exactly. So week one, you have the conference game, Tennessee and Texas Southern. You have. Let me first say you have the Eastern and Western Division. Keep it that way. You have Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman, Clark, Atlanta, FAMU, Jackson State, Tennessee State. So you get that rivalry back with Jackson State. Western Division, you have you push Valley over to the West, and everybody else stays in the West. But you create a schedule. You go to a 12-game format, and with a intriguing, you go to a 9-game football schedule. We might need to get into that talk before we get too far in the season with this 12-game. Maybe we'll do that during the slower times when we get in the offseason as football's going to crank up. But you have Tennessee State, Texas Southern. I thought it was cool how you did a framework of how it would end, looking at the matchups. And so ultimately, which allowed you to do a win-loss and have an end-of-the-season record. We'll get to that. Yeah, TSU, Pine Bluff, Tennessee State, Tennessee Tech. So both teams that left the conference essentially would play each other in the game. You have week 4, North Carolina Central. So you have Central coming over out of the MEAC playing in the game in Nashville. You have UT Martin, current conference member, playing them in the non-conference game. Got Clark Atlanta. They would be a team that moved up in the division. TSU and FAMU, you get to reignite that matchup, which I'm sure a lot of folks would be excited. Well, you hadn't really seen that annually since it was in Atlanta. You do have a game that picked back up when it was in Florida as a classic game. Many years ago now. I was going to say a couple of years ago, but it's tied up. TSU Bethune-Cookman. They played up in your spot a couple of years ago. In terms of Tennessee State, Alabama State. It's been a long time since they played each other. But they used to open it up in the Big John Merritt Classic for a while. TSU and Jackson State. You had the 4-year matchup with matchup there that was re-announced for a 4-year deal. You had that coming in as conference game. You got that in the end of the season. I thought that was pretty interesting. In terms of the legacy series is what they're calling that. But more than anything, it was fascinating. At the end of the season, you do put in here the Cricket Celebration Bowl, so you got aspirations as well as SWAC championship game. But you have a final record of 9-3 in the SWAC. This inaugural season, I guess you would call it, 7-2. Fascinating. But we're going to take our break here, and we'll come back on the side. And if you have a couple of times to maybe stay around one more segment, we'll talk at least your thoughts on this Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff. It's fascinating that you threw in a little piece, and you want to make sure you get your chance in the Tennessee State, I should say, gets their chance in the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge. And so the next open date, you make sure Tennessee State got that. 2030. I think the Morgan State Bears would love you. They get their first invite out to MEAC, and they face the new, what would be a SWAC member in Tennessee State. So that's kind of fascinating. So I think that's a perfect way to go into this next segment to talk about this cricket. So we're going to take our next break, come back on the other side, have a short segment to give you thoughts on that matchup a little more, along with Mike, and then we'll let you get on back to your daddy do this.
Okay.
We'll be right back after this next break.
History? Yeah, we built that. Pride? We fuel that. And on August 30th, we run that. 2 powerhouse HBCUs, Howard Bison, FAMU Rattlers, one legendary showdown under the Miami lights at Hard Rock Stadium. The energy unmatched. The culture undeniable. The vibes straight HBCU. 2025 Invesco QQQ Orange Blossom Classic. Get your tickets and book your hotel now at orangeblossomclassic.com. Saturday, August 30th at 4 p.m. in Miami Gardens.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern, Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACchallenge.com.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility in teacher, school, or district. Visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Get ready for the inaugural Unity Classic, Saturday, September 13th at Nathaniel Glover Community Field and Stadium. It's a clash of the Virginia Union Panthers of the CIAA and the Edward Waters Tigers of the SIAC. Plus, an HBCU band battle between the Edward Waters Triple Threat Marching Band and the Virginia Union Ambassadors of Sound. The inaugural Unity Classic goes down in due fall.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Big Mike, as he likes to say, and Brandon King, as we get to going. This is the office hour segment, I would call it. Check this out, Mike. This is brought to you by Chick-fil-A, specifically the Chick-fil-A in Las Vegas, Nevada, particularly one in a certain location. When I and my family are visiting Las Vegas, Nevada, we love to dine at Chick-fil-A located at 9830 West Flamingo Road. This is what will really have you cracking up. The owner and operator is Ron Peterson, a graduate of Prairie A&M University. We'll be excited to have you as a guest. Let him know Dr. Cavil sent you by. Mike, you remember Brick?
Yeah. Hey, tell Ronald Peterson, aka Brick, that Big Mike, aka back in the day, Big Brother Prudential said hello as well. Just saying.
I'll make sure we clip this part of the segment and send it to him for sure. Let's get back to the business's hand as we get going into this matchup. Cricket, MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff. I'm interested in this matchup. I tried to build it up 3 versus 4, but based on what they said, in particular Brandon on the independent report, everybody didn't see it. He doesn't see this as a matchup. He doesn't see Southern really having a chance. He has some major concerns at the quarterback position. Let me give you a chance to kind of explain why you kind of brought that to the table yesterday.
Well, I think just listening to, for one, at the press conference, and I raised it on our show yesterday, Coach Oliver sounded really confident in what he was bringing to Atlanta. Obviously at the quarterback position, his running back room is bringing a lot back on the defensive side of the ball as well, and he just seemed to really, really be confident in what he was selling. I was definitely buying, and in the whole thing with Southern not naming the QB, could it be gamesmanship? Potentially, it could be. You don't want to, let them know how the sausage is made before you bring the meal out, so to speak. So I recognize part of that in not revealing that. But then the other side, if you have a guy, you shouldn't have a problem saying he's the guy. Makes me think you might not have a guy. And if you don't have a guy, you need a guy, and you're in trouble.
Well, good points. Good points. Let me go to you, Mike. What are your thoughts, your initial thoughts in terms of just the matchup yourself? As I said, I have this as number 3 for the North Carolina Central Eagles, the MEAC, obviously, versus number 4, the Southern Jaguars out of the SWAC. Both of them had really good seasons last year. Everybody has noted that they were one win a game for making it to the actually Celebration Bowl last year. And the big thing is always starting in Atlanta, ending in Atlanta, and every team that plays in the MEAC SWAC Challenge, they love the opportunity to showcase themselves, to open things up. But one of their big desires is to find a way to get back. And they'd be the first team to do that. So a lot of people are linking this matchup. This is a chance for these teams really to do that. Where are you with that?
I couldn't agree more with what Brandon said. I know I'm a little rusty because I've been away from the show. But, there's kind of a saying, coaching confidence is like a muscle. The more you flex it, the stronger and more amusing your progress becomes. So I heard Coach Trey Oliver. I also heard, because I was there, I heard Coach Terrence Graves. There's an order of magnitude in tone. And anytime you make the statement that we're going to name our quarterback when we hit the field, I don't care what kind of mass confusion you're trying to do. If you have a leader, you announce, you roll with that horse. You at least say, hey, we think this person's strong. It's just, there's just something about not what's being said, but what's not being said. Now, that being the case, yes, they're picked very high, at least coming out the West in the SWAC side. And yes, it'll be a good battle, but there's just something about that key position of quarterback that I don't know. There lives a little bit of concern for me. Now, maybe they come out and surprise the heck out of me, but I don't know. The other, so we'll see. Their defense looks sharp. What is it? Toby Givens, that is a senior. The 6'2", 240 pounds. I know we read the press clippings, but we want to understand how good that defense. And going back a year, they've had problems in getting a true quarterback established. So the fact that they're going into this game and saying we'll let y'all know when we hit the field, that don't leave too much of a breath of confidence, at least in my veins.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll take our next break. Let Brandon out of here, and Mike will come back, and we'll talk a little bit more about this matchup. We'll bring it back and go into some particular areas and get some more insight from Mike. With that being said, thank you, Brandon. Great article. Have a lot of people thinking, a lot of people out there buzzing a little bit, talking about what could be in just your framework in terms of, more importantly, where Tennessee State is in terms of OVC and the challenges that they have in terms of the conference and what's to look forward to see what they may look like. Obviously, you talk about SoCon where Tennessee Tech left. There's another spot. So some people are teasing it out, whether that's coming from the OVC Big South or whether that's coming from the CAA. People said that they're not finished. So we'll see what that looks like as the doors of conference churning continues to do just that, churn. We'll be right back after this last break. Thank you, Brandon. We'll let you get out of here and do your thing.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern, Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Cavil's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Cavil's Voice, Cavil's Voice, CavilsVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Get ready for the inaugural Unity Classic, Saturday, September 13th at Nathaniel Glover Community Field and Stadium. It's a clash of the Virginia Union Panthers of the CIAA and the Edward Waters Tigers of the SIAC. Plus, an HBCU band battle between the Edward Waters Triple Threat Marching Band and the Virginia Union Ambassadors of Sound. The inaugural Unity Classic goes down in Duval.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
History? Yeah, we built that. Pride? We fuel that. And on August 30th, we run that. Two powerhouse HBCUs, Howard Bison, FAMU Rattlers, one legendary showdown under the Miami lights at Hard Rock Stadium. The energy unmatched. The culture undeniable. The vibes straight HBCU. 2025 Invesco QQQ Orange Blossom Classic. Get your tickets and book your hotel now at orangeblossomclassic.com. Saturday, August 30th at 4 p.m. in Miami Gardens.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Big Mike. Mike, let's get into this last segment and break this down a little bit. Again, let's bring up all the particulars in terms of this matchup. As we're bringing that PowerPoint up in terms of this MEAC SWAC matchup so we can get into some of the particulars on that. At number 4, as I said, that's our top 7. We released this last week. But last season, Southern was 8-5 overall, 7-1, as everybody know, and they had won first place going in this preseason poll for this matchup, 190 points. At number 3, you have none other than North Carolina Central, in terms of them being 8-3 overall, 4-1 last season, 2 first place votes. So they had one more additional vote in that matchup there. I wanted to tease you a little bit how long we've been doing this over the year, but let's skip into that slide number 6 where we get into the matchup a little bit, if you would. Those are some past champions of the years counting up. But this is that number 3 versus number 4. This game, as everybody should know by now, is August 23rd, this Saturday. Mike gets in town Saturday. I get in there Friday tomorrow. 7:30 kickoff. It's on ABC. ESPN Events is putting it together. MEAC versus SWAC. SWAC has won the last couple of matchups, but according to these gentlemen today, that table may turn. Charles thinks a little bit differently, but I'm fascinating to see in terms of that. What concerns you, as you said in this matchup? Most of that is offensively, particularly from the quarterback. Do you see Southern being able to run the ball, maybe being able to help them with some of the questions that may concern you in terms of where they are at the quarterback play this early in the season?
Yeah, well, outside the quarterback play, if you don't have an established quarterback leader position, maybe they established that at the beginning of the game. And if you look at, North Carolina, half of their offense are preseason, all MEAC folks. All right. So I don't think either one is a running back, but they've got a wide receiver. No, they've got a tight end. They've got a center. They've got a blocking line. And then if you look at the preseason, and this is just one data point, and you look at the roster for Southern, who scares you? So for them to be able to run the ball against a shored up or tough North Carolina Central defense, which has about 4 or 5 people on defense, first team preseason. That to me is one data point. Will they be able to run the ball successfully? And if you don't have a stable position at quarterback, that's another data point that can further hamper your. And if you look at the talent across the board, do they tip the scales in favor of North Carolina Central? I'll tell you what Vegas has. They have, I believe, North Carolina Central as 60% or a little over 60% favored to win. So I think the one swing point with Southern is that their defense. And I know you asked about offense, but those are the few things that step out to me on offense. Is that number one, North Carolina Central has about 5 or 6 folks preseason. There's not 1, 2 people that I can identify named for Southern and the SWAC season. Not one. Almost. I couldn't pick out one. So that tells me another data point that there's nothing coming out of camp that's garnering people's eyes. From a talent standpoint. So those are the 2 or 3 things. Will Southern be able to move the ball against a formidable, already established defense in North Carolina Central?
Man, it's going to be a lot of folks disappointed, according to you all down there in Bluff. They picked to win the division. A lot of folks have high hopes, regardless of what that looks like. But let's focus a little bit on North Carolina Central. But I want to look at them defensively. A lot of us know, believe what they can do, be able to run the ball. Obviously, a quarterback that's coming back that played relatively well this year, second year in terms of being a starter, been in the system several years. But I want to know a little bit about North Carolina Central's defense. What do you think you have coming with Central's defense? Obviously, you talked about expectations that Southern should struggle offensively. But even with that said, where do you see North Carolina Central's defense?
Yeah, so I look at them as that they were a top defense last year. But if I look at the data going back a couple of years, where they had trouble, they had the ability to stuff the run when they were successful. I think that waned a little bit. Yet they fell, from first, second, for a couple of years to maybe third, fourth last year, and I think that hurt them. I don't know if they'll be able to run. Now they have a good linebacker. Was it Max Urin? I think that I named I've come across. Defensive back Jelani Vassell. A couple of folks that you spoke of highly. But in years past, that defensive line in front does not carry in the preseason notoriety that it has. And starting last year, that defensive performance in yards against the run has waned a little bit. If you do the simple math, when they won the championship, they were holding teams to less than 100 yards a game, holding running backs to maybe 4 or 5 on average, less than 3 or 4 yards per run. That average went up in 2024. So I don't see anything to sway that curve, so to speak. That's one big data point that sticks out to me. And unfortunately, if Southern, hope they haven't demonstrated or I haven't seen on paper where they'll be able to run. But if they're somehow able to run, what can this North Carolina Central do on defense, given that you've kind of seen a slight decrease in their stopping the run and over the last, I'd say, year and a half.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's switch and pivot a little bit. We haven't had you here over the last couple of weeks. We do our annual top 21 of the major division and mid-major division. I want to get your thoughts on the major division, really on the top 7, but you can give your thoughts as we'll go down all 21. Let's go to the next slide where we get into the top 7, but really shift and go to the following slide. That's where it ultimately ends up with the top 7. But let's go to the next one. We start at the bottom with 21, 14 here. Let's do 21 through 15 real quick. Delaware State Hornets, Mississippi Valley State at 20, at 19, North Carolina A&T. At number 18, Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. At number 17, Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions. At number 16, Grambling State Tigers. At number 15, the Norfolk State Spartans. Any of these teams you see out of order that you would shift up in the ranking?
So the one question that I did see these a little bit later. But I guess the one question that stands out in me, at least for me, is if I look at the MEAC, let me look at it one more time.
Mm-hmm.
I think Norfolk State, are they going to be an X factor, so to speak? I don't know. with new folks coming on board, that are they going to be an X factor? Outside of that, looking at where Grambling State and UAPB or University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, nothing here surprised me. You look at how dismally the North Carolina A&T performed last year, and Valley. I don't care if you got a new look. I don't care if you got clean bow ties like you had on whatever. Nothing surprises me there. So you had the good green suits. You had the nice red bow ties. The look was great, par excellence. But I think it'll still be the same Valley. There's not enough there to tell me that they're going to be out of the bottom 20. So nothing here surprised me other than maybe Norfolk State could potentially be an X factor.
Let's go to that 14 through 8. Break that down. Go back up one. That 14-8. Texas Southern at number 14. Number 13, Howard Bison. Number 12, Hampton Pirates. Number 11, Alcorn State Braves. Number 10, Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Number 9, Alabama State Hornets. Number 8, Tennessee State Tigers. Out of this one, would you shift any team down, or you think you might shift two of these teams up?
I'm shifting Alcorn State up. I shift them over at least Alabama A&M. I move them up one. I think they'll be a lot tougher than we may give them credit for. And I guess maybe why do I say that? They have a potent 1-2 punch in the backfield with Jacorian Sewell, and then that transfer who Davis was his last, Reggie Davis. So I think they've added a little bit more firepower to their offense. There's a reason that they're picked second in the SWAC. I think they'll be a little bit better than people give them credit for. So I shift them. They're the only team that I say I shift them up. Texas Southern always seems to become an X factor, but in the middle of the season. They do have a good bunch coming in, but we don't know what that's going to look like. But for me, Alcorn State, I think you move them up, maybe at least above Alabama A&M.
Last one before we close it up. Let's get in that top 7 and get your final thoughts here. Number 7, Prairie View A&M Panthers. Morgan State Bears at number 6. At number 5, South Carolina State Bulldogs. At number 4, Southern Jaguars. At number 3, North Carolina Central Eagles. At number 2, Florida A&M Rattlers. At number 1, Jackson State Tigers. That's the top 7. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 7, particularly number 1? Or do you shift any of these teams out of the top 7, Mike?
No. No. The one team that I scratched my head a little bit on was Morgan State, but no, those teams, and if you look at them, they've always been in the hunt, minus, I would say, unfortunately, Prairie View A&M as the top 4 or 5 teams across the board over the last few years. It's Jackson State at the top. It's FAMU at the top. I would wonder why we have FAMU at the top, at the top this year at number 2. Would you switch them between North Carolina Central and maybe even South Carolina State? Why is South Carolina State below FAMU? I think you would move. In my opinion, I would move Florida A&M down and move South Carolina State up. They're picked to come out of the MEAC. And you could flip flop North Carolina Central and A&M, but I would move South Carolina State up.
Good stuff. Good stuff. A couple of folks have said that, and during the time we broke this down with our guests, including Charles, they had some similar comments in terms of FAMU. I did explain that South Carolina State lost a lot in terms of their team, even more than FAMU, but I think what people have is a trust factor in the coach, so which I certainly understand what that looks like. But let's do this. Let's come to a close. I want to say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Obviously, we want to thank Brandon King for joining us today, along with the twins. Again, I want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Look for us. We might try to sneak it out. We're going to do a 9 a.m. show next week. We might do something after this game. Keep us posted. We'll do a little bit early if we do that, but we'll let you know. Might even stick something in tomorrow, Friday, to see what the guys doing as they're getting around. We'll see what Mike's schedule is, see if we can pull him back in here on a Friday. See if we can get Charles out, and maybe some of the other guys in terms of what's going on. But with that being said, follow me on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DRKENYATTACAVIL. We look forward to next week if we don't able to get you something this weekend in terms of discuss the latest news in the lab. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Mike?
Or
lecture? Roy?
Dismissed.
Roy, what's up, dog? Oh, I don't.